So now we got to go from one assault situation to another. On the homosexual side, let's get into Michael Tate. So we have been talking and keeping abreast of Michael Tate's stuff on social media. Well, as y'all know, he is one of the biggest names to come out of the whole Christian rock scene. And we did talk a bit about how there was an investigation. I think it was a 2-year investigation into him in regards to like some alleged assault allegations of other men behind the scenes with drugging and abuse and all these other things of that nature. And we have the story. It's extended. It's a lot. We're going to break it down. So you're going to have to bear with me. It is graphic. Shout out to The Guardian because they had all the tea. So we didn't hear about anything regarding anybody coming at him and accusing him of this stuff. We had heard that they did an investigation and they discovered some things. Well, child, when I read this whole situation, and now all the stuff had came out about him, and 8 men basically came out and accused him of SA. Oh, let's get into it. This is some shit that would rival Shangela. Yeah, I had to throw her behind up in this because she another one. Now, allegedly. Now, according to The Guardian, 2 more men have come forward to accuse Christian rock superstar and MAGA firebrand. These all these maggots. This is basically showing y'all all a bunch of weirdos and abusers of. And here's what he did. Allegedly, he drugged and SA'd them, including Jason Jones, the founding manager of the American hard rock band Evanescence. Now, Jones says that he was fired from the band, which has ties to Tate, for speaking out about his alleged assault. Jones said the firing, which he claimed happened in 1999, cut him out of Evanescence's massive success beginning in 2003. I forgot they were a Christian rock band. That's why I could never get into them. The only song I know about from Evanescence, that stupid ass song, that was the only song from them that I was aware of. But after that, I was like, when I started hearing Christian rock and already my triggers going off about Christianity and the hatred of gays, and I was like, red flag, abort, abort, abort. Oh, I said a word they don't like. That's a trigger for them. Now, he said it destroyed me. I was achieving my dreams at an early age, and Tate changed all of that. Now, Evanescence co-founder Ben Moody denied Jones was fired from the band for speaking out against Tate. Moody says he does recall Jones telling him about a sexual encounter with Tate, but at the time, Moody interpreted it as consensual. He said, I was a kid, only 18, and clearly didn't realize what he was going through. This is what Moody said. I'm sure I missed a lot of things I recognize today. I didn't realize he was traumatized. Well, yeah, when you're 18, you don't understand how to unpack or deal with all of that. So you're just gonna, go along with it, or kind of just dismiss it because you don't know how to receive that kind of stuff. Your frontal lobe hasn't fully developed yet. So it's like if somebody came at me with those type of allegations and sexual, like I wouldn't know how to handle that. Now today I would, because I have the information, because I have all the other stuff that goes along with it. So you know how to handle all that better. So now in all, 8 alleged victims have now come forward publicly with SA allegations against Tate. A previous investigation by The Guardian reported allegations of SA by Tate against 3 young men, while another from the Christian news outlet, The Roy's Report, reported allegations by 3 other men. Tate became famous as the frontman for DC Talking Newsboys, 2 Christian mega bands known for packaging conservative rhetoric about sexual abstinence, even though you wasn't even practicing what the hell you was preaching, sobriety, which you wasn't practicing that either, because remember, there was drugs involved, and we talked about that in the last show. Christian nationalism and the coming rapture of catchy rock songs. Tate has also been a supporter of I Will Vote for Donald Trump, and served as a key bridge between Trump and evangelical voters. Talk about self-hatred. You hate yourself for being a homosexual and a black man. 2 things that his party don't particularly care for. Now, Tate has not responded to questions from The Guardian about the allegations against him, but in an IG post in June, Tate confessed in a decades-long addiction to booger sugar and alcohol, even though you was sitting here writing songs about abstinence and sobriety. You was out here putting all that white narcotic up your damn nose. I'm surprised you got cartilage left and liquor, and admitted that he had at times touched men in an unwanted sensual way. Well, I don't know what's sensual about SA, but go off niece. Now, in the post, Tate added that he had recently spent 6 weeks in a treatment center in Utah, which means nothing was they didn't help you up in there. They probably was feeding you much more propaganda for you to feel guilty about your sexual desires because you, as a man, can't come to terms with the fact that you're a faggot, and now you got to go in and let have and take advantage of other men because your deepest, darkest desires of what you really want, you can't have it because what the church teaches regarding homosexuality. That's what I'm getting from all of this. But call me crazy, but I'm a good analyzer. I do love me some Sigmund Freud. Now, Jones was described by friends who knew him in the 90s as a happy-go-lucky Christian teenager, bursting with ambition and creativity. Growing up in Arkansas, Jones remembers one of his biggest dreams was to meet DC Talk. Now, Jones achieved the dream in 94 after moving to Nashville to manage the band of his friend, Randall Crawford, who was also friends with Tate and introduced the two. Jones recalled going to McDonald's with the DC Talk frontman and being mobbed by so many teenage fans they had to leave before getting their food. That kind of thing happened a lot, he said. Jones was thrilled to be welcomed in Tate's inner circle, yet he was taken aback by what he described as Tate's proclivity for randomly grabbing other men's genitals. He said he eventually learned that Tate was living a double life as a closeted homosexual man, which was becoming a problem for a band mentored by Moral Majority's co-founder, Jerry Falwell, who called AIDS God's punishment for homosexuality. Now, while surprised, Jones held a no negative feeling towards Tate's sexuality, even taking him to gay clubs in Little Rock at Tate's request when DC Talk performed there. Wait, y'all performed in gay clubs or you performed in Little Rock, Arkansas? Child, quiet as it's kept. I didn't even know Arkansas had gay clubs. Now, Jones was regularly traveling back and forth from Nashville to Little Rock, and in 95, he met aspiring musician Moody, the two of them hitting it off and collaborating on a project that will come to be named Evanescence. After co-founding the first Evanescence demo, Jones returned to Nashville and began talking up the band to his friend Tate. Now, Jones, as an evangelical, was sober and a virgin at the time, but he recalls getting caught up in a whirlwind of partying with Tate in 95, chain smoking cigarettes and Mary Jane, and closing down bars, then returning to Tate's house to continue drinking. Jones said he was uncomfortable with all of it, but was eager for Tate's approval so he could pile. So you were in a position where you felt that you were trying to really influence this guy, or you were really trying to be impressionable and all this other stuff, and then all of a sudden you just went and foregone all your morals and what you were believing for just so that way you can get approval from this man who basically took advantage of you after the fact with his, demonic desires. And I'm not saying demonic like being gay is demonic. The way of the fact, because it's not. It's natural, it is a part of life, nature, animals, mammals, and things of that nature. Like homosexuality has existed long before the Bible was written by the man, basically, because that's who wrote the book. I don't know, some of y'all are probably out here going to be shocked when I say that, but yes, man wrote the Bible. So when you have this type of situation where you're taught that you're going to hell, it's a sin, it's an abomination, you have these deep desires and feelings, and you're so afraid to act them out, now you're sitting there thinking, I got to drug people, I got to do all this other stuff in order to get my rocks off, when that shouldn't even be it. You're sitting there wrestling with your faith, but also, and I know there's people out there that believe in God and then have this thing where they battle their belief in Christ and faith and all other stuff, and then dealing with their homosexual feelings. And it's like, you can believe in a higher power. I think there is something bigger than all of us out there. But the fact of the matter is, I don't want to be a part of something that tells me I'm going to hell for something that I was born with. So yeah, we're not listening to that ugly bitch Azealia Banks, where she out here saying that being gay is an abomination or whatever the hell it was her dumb ass said. I forgot we stopped talking about her on this show. We're not, she don't exist. She's like Thanos took her ass away in a snap. Now let's get back to the article. He said, I had this band that I was trying to take places. This is what Jones recalled. And Tate had the power to open doors for us in the industry. So I went along with whatever, but didn't know what it would cost me. Now, Jones used his connection with Tate to help Evanescence get a foot in the door in Nashville, speaking with AR people, record labels, venue owners, producers, and musicians. Sources that wish to remain anonymous allege that Tate had a rotation of attractive young men at his Nashville home at the time, some of them underage, and that Tate had a no clothes allowed rule in his hot tub. He would put his penis against one of the jets and tell us to do the same, anything saying, "See, it feels good," recalling a source who visited Tate regularly at this time and wishes to remain anonymous. So it's funny how a lot of y'all talk about Christian values and all other stuff, and this is the stuff that's going on. And y'all was all aware of the sexual proclivities that was happening, but y'all look the other way because you're in the industry, get along to get along, you don't want to lose your job. So that's why I find it funny. Y'all all try to cloak all of this with church this and church that. But at the end of the day, it's all about business. It's all about money. It's all about protecting one's assets. And so much abuse goes on, and it could be in the Christian industry, the regular music industry, just whatever kind of industry. And it's crazy how that. But anyway, let me just reserve my thoughts and get through this article. I knew this was going to happen when I was going to go through it because I can't help myself. I'm like, it's like it's gonna go in with the banter on top of the tea. But let's get back to the tea. They said he was all about the shock factor. This is what Crawford said, who was close with Jones and Tate throughout the 90s. He was always saying, "Let's make out in front of these people." And I was like, "No, you're going to destroy your career." But he felt untouchable. And in some ways he was. Well, yeah, when you have all that power and you had someone who is like, "Oh, I know the A&R people, the record labels, the venue owners, the producers, the musicians," when you know all these people and you hold all that power in the palm of your hands, you feel like a lot of them, like the Diddy's, the Trumps, whoever. I could do whatever the hell I want, and there's nothing you can do about it. But it's like, oh no, there's always a bottom that you're gonna hit, and then that reality comes in, and your career is over. And here we are. This is why we're telling this story, because he's hit his bottom. Now, around the same time, Crawford recalls Tate driving him through the campus of Liberty University, Falwell's Christian College, where DC Talk formed, speeding at 60 miles per hour and getting pulled over by campus security, who turned from anger to laughter when seeing Tate behind the wheel, even asking for pictures and autographs. So yeah, as always, they look a different way when it's somebody famous. After they left, Michael turned to me, calm as ever, and said, "I could do anything and not get in trouble." Now, Jones recalls drinking at Tate's house one night in late 1998, just after DC Talk finished rehearsals for their Supernatural album tour. Jones remembers feeling tired suddenly, and Tate recommended he go sleep in his bedroom, saying, quote, "I felt honored that he felt that close to me, that he trusted me enough to let me sleep in his bed." Chill, aren't you naive? Now, sometimes later, Jones recalled waking up, his pants missing, and Tate was giving him a baloney wash. He says, "I said no and pushed him off, but then somehow I passed out again. I woke back up and he was still doing it. I said no again, then nodded off. And then I woke up a third time, aggressively shouting no and pushed him harder. It was then that he left me alone." Looking back, Jones said, "I believe that Michael Tate drugged me." Now, two alleged victims from The Guardian previously reported that they believe they were drugged by Tate before his alleged assaults. In addition, a female accuser cited by the Roy's report said she believed that Tate supplied Rohypnol or some other sedative to a crew member on a Newsboys tour, who also then drugged and R-worded her while Tate watched. Distraught and in need of comfort, Jones flew home to Little Rock the day after he said he was assaulted. There, he confided with a friend and mentor who wishes to remain anonymous that he had a bad experience with Tate, but wouldn't go into details. He wasn't the same after that, Jones's friend recalled. Jones said that in early '99, he had also confided in his friend and Evanescence co-founder Ben Moody about being SA'd by Tate. Ben was only 18 at the time, new to the music industry, and I wanted to warn him. Jones recalled Tate was flying Ben out to Nashville to write songs together to see if he fit in Tate's inner circle. Moody remembers things differently. He said he didn't frame it as SA. This is what Moody said. He described it as like frat boy joking around while they were drunk, with Tate saying, "What's the big deal? A dick's just a muscle." And Jason said, "Next thing I know, he was sucking my dick." Oh, so that's what we doing? This is what we doing. It was on and popping in '99. So y'all thinking this is frat boy behavior? Do they do this in fraternities? Let me know in the comments. I never pledged, so I don't know. Okay, so then they said Jones said he remains confident that he told Moody the full details of the assault. Probably, and Ben probably didn't give a good goddamn because his career popped off, and that's more important. You'd be surprised how many people will forego their morals and the things they believe in just so that way they can get their dreams fulfilled. Happens all the time. Now, Jones said he remains confident. He told Moody full details, including that he verbally and physically resisted Tate 3 times as his consciousness came and went. Moody said he soon noticed a change in Jones' demeanor. Jones, a passionate, fun-loving guy who was easily to get along with, began suffering manic swings from depression to rage to paranoia and then dissociation. After a late-night studio, he couldn't get the car shifter into gear, and he just started screaming, hurling his body around, jerking the shifter violently like he was going to break it off. Moody said he and the band began wondering if they should continue working with Jones. In retrospect, I didn't know what he was going through. Looking back, I would have been a bit more attentive, but I was a typical 18-year-old who wanted to be a rock star. Exactly. And that's why I think that's what happened, what was happening with him. Jones was abused. Jones didn't know how to handle this traumatic experience. So any little thing that was going off, he was lashing out. He was acting out. He didn't know how to deal with those. We had to deal with those type of feelings in 1999. We weren't talking about getting in touch with our feelings back then. We weren't dealing with sexual assault and things of that nature. So yeah, he's gonna lash out, and he's a young guy. So young people don't really know how to handle their feelings if they don't have the tools to deal with what they're dealing with. So yeah, he's gonna lash out. Yeah, he's gonna do things that he's gonna do, and then people are looking at it like, okay, he's doing too much. He's crashing out. You're gonna mess up our situation, and you gotta go. So that's probably why they got rid of him. But I also agree with Ben where he's saying like, I was a typical 18-year-old who wanted to be a rock star. Like I didn't understand how to handle whatever it was that you were dealing with. I was a kid. Now, Moody said that in a phone call with Tate, he mentioned that Jones had told him about a encounter between them, in which Tate then denied, saying, "I wanted to get ahead of Jason talking ish about us and ruining the whole thing." Back then, there were rumors about Michael Tate was gay. And at that point, right after DC Tour's Grammy-winning album, Jesus Freak, he was the biggest thing in Christian music history, and the scandal would have been a huge deal. So yeah, it was like he was the biggest thing. The Christian music industry was making a shit ton of money. They were all aware that he was a big old queen, and they weren't going to let anybody rock the boat. They're like, no, we got to keep this secret. We got to do what we got to do to make sure that this don't get out. And hence why they were talking about the investigations. There was people that was going around knowing about stuff. There was somebody that I told y'all before when I was on, when I posted a video about Michael Tate on TikTok. I literally had somebody in the comments tell me that they were on the same label. Another black guy they were on the same label, and it's an open secret. A lot of people knew about Michael Tate and what was going on behind the scenes, that he was into dudes and having sex with dudes and this, that, and the other. I don't know if they were aware of the assault that were going on and the drug use and things, but they all knew about Miss Mamas. So trust and believe, if y'all thought that they didn't know that he was out here doing things that he shouldn't have been doing, it's funny how y'all call homosexuality a sin, but y'all looking the other way because y'all profiting off of this man who is considered one of the most powerful people in Christian rock music. So now Jones and Moody differ on whether he was fired or quit, but both recall the incident with Tate. However, it was characterized as the turning point of the relationship. He said, "I hid away after that. I started snorting meth, then smoking it." His isolation and drug binge would continue for 5 years. Now, Moody said that he regrets how things went down with Jones back then. "He was my best friend over so many years, and now I ask myself, how effing blind could I have been?" Very, because all you cared about was being a rock star. And you got what you wanted. For how brief. Do people still listen to Evanescence? Evanescence went on to be one of the biggest bands in the world, winning Best New Artist and Best Hard Rock Performance at the Grammys in 2003, and eventually selling tens of millions of albums. Excuse me. The following year, Moody and Tate would go on to be roommates and musical collaborators, with Tate singing on Moody's Soul album and Moody producing Tate's soul album Loveology in 2003. Moody left Evanescence to pursue a solo career. Now, Evanescence co-founder Amy Lee and other reps for the band cannot be reached for comment. Oh no, she didn't say nothing, but we know Haley Williams said something. Didn't Haley Williams also release a whole bunch of music? I don't know if it was an album, but she just threw a whole bunch of music and just put it out there. What is it? Amy, not Amy Lee. So yeah, Haley Williams, she went and came out and said a whole bunch of stuff about going against the Christian music industry. Some of y'all knew about what was going on and did nothing. So yeah, she went on a whole rant about it. We talked about it. Like Moody Crawford remembers his friend Jones as a happy guy, a real sweetheart, but all that changed after '98. I could tell something had happened. He didn't tell me about it at the time, but he has since. And I believe him because the same thing happened to me. Crawford first met DC Talk when the band was filming the music video for its first single, Heaven Bound. In 1989, Crawford was working in a movie theater at the same Nashville mall the band was filming in. He loved their debut cassette, and when they came to catch a movie, he introduced himself and gave them a discount. Crawford remembers his friend Jason Jones getting squeezed out of the management position of Evanescence in early '99, and that it had something to do with Tate, but was unaware of specifics at the time. Back then, Crawford was an ambitious musician and was being hired to write songs for solo projects for Tate and DC Talk's Toby Mac. I remember Toby Mac. The band went on hiatus in 2000 and never officially reunited. Mac's project was later nominated for a Grammy and Dove Award. Crawford had also just signed his own record deal for his band Webster County. Now, Crawford recalls being distraught over a breakup one night in the fall of 2000 and Tate inviting him over to hang out. You'll bounce back, he recalls Tate saying as he handed him a shot glass of Maker's Mark whiskey. I told him just one and took the shot, he recalls. I had pretty high tolerance for alcohol at the time, but I blacked out shortly after I took that one drink. Oh, he pulled the Bill Cosby on you. Now, Crawford said that his memory picks up sometime later, finding himself propped up on Tate's kitchen counter, his pants around his ankles. My legs were in the air, and Tate, child, I told you it was about to get graphic. Tate was how do I put? Okay, I'm gonna just say he was eating his ass. Basically, he was going down on that bussy. And they said, "I said, what are you doing, dude?" And then he said the weirdest thing. He said, "Hey, man, did you catch the Colts game last week? Like we were just hanging out chatting. Why are you talking about the Colts? And you eat my behind?" It's like, man, why are you talking about football? So they said Crawford said that he fled Tate's house, but has no memory of driving home. Well, I don't know how, whatever drug he put up in your stuff, that's kind of dangerous to be driving. He said he is convinced that Tate drugged him. Two close friends of Crawford have corroborated his story. One of them confirmed that Crawford told him details of the alleged assault at the time, but only named the perpetrator 2 years ago. The other friend said he was told the whole story at the time, saying, quote, "I was never the same after that," Crawford said. "The joy and drive I have for music went away. Suddenly I had stage fright for the first time, brain fog, anger issues, depression, and was even suicidal for a time. It ruined my career." Despite having finished recording the album for his band, Crawford felt unable to perform as a musician and the record was never released. But both Jones and Crawford recall thinking their assaults were isolated incidents. No, it was a bunch of people, and I'm sure it's more than 8 that have come out and been abused by this man. And it's just, so, this is just disgusting how there are people out here who just have this dream. And it's not just happening in the Christian music world. It happens a lot in a lot of aspects of the industry. People just want to come out here and live their dream and just, show their talent and make it out of whatever situation that they're into. And you get these people in powerful positions that want to use their power, their influence, or just their self-hatred, whatever you got going on inside, and just taking it out on these other people and just thinking like, oh, I'm gonna just drug this person. They're not gonna remember what happened or whatever the case is. And it's like, if you come out, then you're gonna ruin their career. But I'm glad the people are speaking out now. So he went on to say, after not speaking for years, Tate re-entered his life in 2020. Crawford's wife was a musician herself, and Tate had offered to produce her album. So I had buried the memory of that night for a long time. After seeing Tate again, Crawford said a lot of feelings came to the surface, and he found himself weeping uncontrollably in the shower. After confessing to his wife what had happened, she encouraged him to enroll in EMDR trauma therapy, which he says has been helpful. Saying, "Hearing Jason's story recently broke my heart," he said, after reuniting with his friend Jones decades later. "I believe we'd both be in the music industry today if it weren't for Michael Tate." So yeah, if you have this person coming around and just taking advantage and destroying people's lives, and shout out to Jones, who's been sober since 2008, and he left the music industry. He worked in banking and co-directed a sober living facility. Now today, what he's doing, he's traveling around the country sharing his story of abuse and addiction, not mentioning Tate's name when recounting the experience. And I think that's a good thing too. It's like, you know what? I think more conversations need to be had about men who are experiencing abuse, because like I said before, while you get a lot of women who get abused and their stories go underreported, men, it's worse. There's a lot more men out here who have experienced sexual abuse and all that other stuff, and it goes underreported due to shame or whatever the case is. Oh, you liked it, you must be like, you hear all that stupid misogynistic crap. So I'm glad that this guy is going, that he's going around and just speaking out on his experience and teaching, letting people know that, what I went through, I can get through it. And if I went through it and came out on the other side victorious, you can do the same thing. So I think that's just very encouraging. And it's sad that you have a dream and it gets ruined from somebody like this guy doing this. Like I said, Moody disputed the notion that Jones had ever had the right to compensation for his management efforts in the early days of Evanescence, because he said his lawyers basically said that had he pursued the matter sooner, he would be entitled to up to tens of millions of dollars in compensation, because there's a whole situation about statute of limitations. And I guess because of the suit from Evanescence, so he don't get money. But Booty talking about he don't get money. But I'm like, I don't know if you get to determine that. The law is the law, and if he had time to be up in there and be able to get compensation, then he would have been able to get it. But he just waited too late. Now looking back 27 years later, Jones recalled the night he told Moody about what had happened to him, warning him not only about Tate, but about the music industry in general. He recited a quote from the magazine journalist Hunter S. Thompson, who said, "The music business is a cruel and shallow money trench, a long plastic hallway where thieves and pimps run free." And that's true for the Christian music industry as well, even more so in my case. And that's why I've been telling y'all. So y'all sitting up here thinking that Christianity, the Christian church and everything, or not even the church, but just the Christian music industry is just wholesome. And that's because that's the image that they perpetuate. There's a lot of snakes, a lot of pimps, a lot of people, like the worst of the worst is running around in these little circles. And I'm glad that he has put this out there and pointed this out. So shout out to all of y'all that had to endure this kind of abuse. It's crazy that y'all had to endure this. And I hope Michael Tate gets what's coming to him. And I'm sure that we only got 8 so far, but I'm sure that they'll probably, after this story has been put out there, and who knows, maybe some more victims will see this video that I'm going to cut up and put up on all the socials. We'll see this and it'll spark something within them to come forward and tell their story and file their lawsuits, because somebody like this, it's sad that unfortunately we have to have an example. And I know some people are gonna be like, well, I mean, he's gay, he's gonna set us back. Don't lump him in with us, because not all gays are perverts, abusers, child molesters. He's fulfilling that stereotype, that the type of thing that he's in Christianity. That's that BS that they like to put out here and set examples for. But it's like, if y'all knew that, then why were y'all silent for over 3 decades? Because y'all was making money. So y'all looked the other way and let this man do what he was doing to all these other people. So all that homosexuality is a sin, you're going to hell, y'all could shove all that up there and sit and spin on it with it like that. Do it on there, and I hope you get shit on the end too. So y'all can take all that and shove it up your ass. Nobody wants to hear it. But it just goes to show how hypocritical a lot of y'all are when it comes to the whole religious, rhetoric that y'all spew out here. So, and Michael, with all this stuff you've done, you could burn in hell for all I care, if there is one. So I say all this to say, what do you guys think of this story? This long ass story that I had to tell y'all, but I wanted to give y'all all the details, all the explicit details, courtesy of The Guardian. And I don't think this story is going away anytime soon. So I definitely want to hear from y'all. Let me know what your thoughts are on this story in the comments down below.